Hey everyone, welcome back to THC Launchpad. My name is Doc. I'm one of the co-founders of the Hook Collective. And today we're just going over some of the most common mistakes that I've personally seen in my, I don't know, 7-8 years in the industry now. And just, pointing out the things that we're seeing over and over again so you do not make the same mistakes. If you've been watching this series, then you already probably know what I'm going to start with, which is people not investing in their brand. It's by far the most common mistake that I'm seeing. When you are seeing the difference between a failing business and a successful business, the successful business is the one that has invested in its brand. And you maybe think, well, if they're succeeding, it's easy to invest in their brand. But I would say that most of the time, it's the other way around. They succeeded because they invest in their brand. They started out with a strong identity, a clear idea of what it was that they were trying to communicate. Not just what the product is, but what is the value of the product and why customers should choose their product over someone else's product. And we're seeing all the time, businesses that are coming to us, they want our services, they want packaging design, they want logo design. But when we talk about how much it's going to cost, they're like, oh, why is it so expensive? And believe me, we are not expensive, especially if you're comparing us to any other industry. But when you're comparing us to what you can find on Fiverr or some random local graphic designer, then yeah, maybe we're expensive compared to that. But when you're talking about your logo, your packaging, your website, these are the most important parts of your business. I'm going to say this, and I mean it, it is more important than your product. Because, yeah, sure, you want your product to be as good as possible, but no one's going to buy your product, no matter how good it is, if the packaging and the branding is bad. You're only as good as your brand, and the perception of your company, of your service, of your product is directly tied to how you present yourself. And so the next thing on my list is another mistake that I see over and over again, and that is people wasting their money either on bad actors or people that are unable to deliver. Maybe they sincerely want to deliver, but they're just unable, or often maliciously know they're not going to be able to deliver and just want your money, or spending money on pipe dreams that it's never going to pan out. And I put those into the same category because it is a failure of doing your homework. People are spending money, and oftentimes a lot of money, on something that is never going to work out, either because they're hiring clearly the wrong person that's not going to be able to deliver, or they're spending it on something that even in the best of circumstances is not going to work out. I can give you a few examples. When we were just starting out, 7 or so years ago, we were focused just on video at the beginning, and we were running into over and over again people that are like, oh, I already spent $10,000, $15,000. One time I literally heard $20,000 on a video, and it was a waste of money. And it's like, yeah, of course it was a waste of money if you spent that much money on one video. And I've seen some of these videos, and they shouldn't have spent $1,000 or $500 on the video was just bad. But even if the video was worth $20,000 in the sense that the production value was of that quality, it still would be a huge waste of money, because what kind of return are you getting on that video? Especially when you are a small or medium-sized business. If you are a national brand, a multi-state operator, yeah, maybe you're going to spend that much money on your video then. But when you are just starting out, when you are a single state operator, when you are a single dispensary, a smaller cultivator, it's questionable whether you would want to spend any money on video. but you certainly don't want to be spending in the thousands or tens of thousands of dollars. And so this is, in many cases, it was both. It was both that they were hiring someone that was selling them a bill of goods that they could never deliver on. And they obviously were not looking closely at their other work to see, like, are they able to execute on what they're saying they can? And they're spending a lot of money on something that even in the best of circumstances is going to be a waste. And so the bottom line, you have to do your homework before you are spending money. And we, like, when people come to us, I'm always like, hey, be really careful about who you're spending money on. Whether, like, we welcome the scrutiny, We're happy to show you examples of our work. We're happy to meet with you multiple times until you feel comfortable working with us. And, we want you to be making the right decision for yourself. Like, we don't want you wasting money, because if you're wasting money, even if we deliver a great product, and the example I always come back to is social. You should not be spending a lot of money on social. There's a few exceptions. If you are one of the top brands in your state, or you're aspiring to be one of the top brands in your state, or you are a multi-state operator, yes, then social makes a lot of sense, and it's all about creating your brand. If you're going on social because you want to drum up clients and drum up customers, it's never going to work. And so people are coming to us and they want to hire us for social, and how much it costs, blah, blah. And I'm like, hey, we could do this for you, but I recommend that you do not. You should not spend this money, not with us, not with anyone, because you're just going to be wasting your money. The results on social are not great. Again, if you're thinking about your long-term branding, that's a different situation, and then it's great for us to have a conversation. But if you're a dispensary in, a medium-sized city, you're a single dispensary, or you're a farm that's, selling mostly flower, why would you be spending a lot of time on your social? Especially now. You may be looking at some of these, long time brands that have been in it from the beginning. Sometimes even before the beginning of legalization, some of these brands were on social media, and they have huge followings. Yeah, because they built it up over a long period of time. But if you're looking at and comparing yourself to one of these newer players, you're probably going to find that they have a very large budget to spend on their social and on all other types of marketing. And so you're trying to chase something that they have spent 10 times, 20 times the amount of money that you're able to spend to get to where they are. Or, like I mentioned earlier, or they've been at it from the beginning, and so they built up a huge following when it was easy on Instagram. And now it's definitely not easy. And so, again, don't waste your money on bad actors or pipe dreams. Do your homework, make sure that what you're spending money on makes sense for your business, and that you have reasonable expectations of how it's going to, return on your investment. Along those same lines, another very common mistake that we see over and over again, and it often happens when a company is, been at it for a few years. Maybe they started out pretty strong when the state was newly legal and it was pretty easy, and now it's getting harder and they're going backwards and they're struggling and there's more competition. And now they're just grabbing at straws, and they're, very susceptible at this moment to someone coming in and pitching them on some magic bullet solution. And this is another area where we're really cautious with people. And if we sense that you are coming at it from a position of weakness or a position of desperation, we really want to be really careful. Like, don't throw bad money after good money. Or said that the wrong way. Don't throw good money after the bad money that you've already spent. Because if you're trending in the wrong direction, and you're just, I need to spend money to turn this around, it's probably too late. And I would give the same advice. Hey, you need to invest in your brand, because none of these other things are going to work until your brand is on par with your competition or exceeding your competition. And again, there's no magic bullet. If you had started off with the you know, the strong branding from the very beginning, it would be a very different story. And so when you're in that position, and it's the same thing where it's like, oh, you know, this sounds good, this sounds good. Do your homework, really think it through, analyze, like, what is the return on this going to be realistically? What is the best case and worst case, and how, you know, likely is one or the other? Really think this through and talk it through with the professionals that you're thinking about hiring, because we see it over and over again. People are like in that, you know, dangerous place where it's like, oh, I feel like we need to rescue this, and it's slipping away. And that's when really bad decisions get made. Another common mistake, I already hinted at it, is trying to replicate other success. And you see, oh, brand X is killing it on social. I want to be killing it on social. So let's hire someone to do our social to try to match what they're doing. Well, already you're behind the 8 ball. Already you're trying to match what they already did. Doing it a second time is going to be harder than doing it the first time. And doing it, you know, out competing them at what they are already doing well is not a smart way of going about it. You know, much better mindset is, how can I do something that I'm not seeing other people are doing? Or how can I do something that I'm seeing working in other industries but hasn't really been applied to cannabis yet? Or, you know, how can I bring my unique skill set and my unique perspective to my brand to separate us from everyone else, so we're not just chasing what everyone else is doing. You know, not everyone can be Jeter. There's only one Jeter, and if you want to be Jeter, you're going to have to outspend them. And if you're able to outspend them, please come talk to us, because I will. We can really have a good conversation about that. But for realistically, most of us, we don't have those kinds of resources at our disposal, and so we have to be really smart about it. And the last mistake that I'm seeing over and over and over again is a mentality of, if we grow it, they will come, right? If we grow the best weed, we're going to succeed because we're going to have the best product on the market. You know what the problem with that mindset is everyone else has the exact same mindset. Everyone else thinks they are growing the best weed on the market. I can't tell you how many grows I've been to. And I go in, I have the tour, people are so proud. And they're like, oh, we're the only ones doing this. We're the only ones that have this fertilizer. We're the only ones that have this method. We're the only... And I'm thinking to myself, oh yeah, I've seen it 3 times this week, right? I have only really been impressed a couple of times. I mean, the first few times, it was all impressive. But then you start to see the same things over and over again. And since that early period, it's, you know, only a couple times that I've been like, oh my God, these people are doing it and no one else is doing it this way. And everyone else should be scared because of how they're doing it. And it's very rare. And so that mentality of, if we grow it, they will come, is you're just setting yourself up for failure because you're not investing in your brand. But on the other side of things, we have seen repeatedly when a company has invested in their brand in terms of both thought and intention and money, and they have created a really strong identity that is unique and elegant and persuasive, impactful, fill in the blank with whatever word applies to, you know, your brand, then those are the company you see, you're like, oh, they're going to succeed. And the thing about that mindset that is different from the if we build it, they will come mindset is that fewer people are doing it, and there's a lot more room for multiple, you know, every state is going to have multiple success stories, right? And so if you invest correctly in your brand and in the way you present yourselves and everything about your operation that is audience facing, then that's the path for success, and it is repeatable, and it's not just 1 or 2 that are going to come out on top. And so like I see it at both ends. I see it at the biggest companies that have invested in their brand, but I've also seen it in those micro, you know, cultivators, the small operators that, you know, they may not be selling a lot, but they're selling it at a premium because they've built up this loyal following through their brand. And you just like, oh, I love these guys. I love everything about them. And so those companies that have invested in their brand, those are the ones that are going to succeed. So we come full circle. I start out talking about brand and I'm finishing talking about brand because really it all comes down to brand. And so I hope that these mistakes, you know, illustrating them, talking about them, harping on them, I hope you guys find it helpful. I hope it helps you frame your mindset in the proper way, so that you are setting yourselves up for the best chances of success. Thank you for tuning into the video today. I hope you like it. If you did, please like and subscribe. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks.